accidentally opened the source code in here. How? How did I do that? Oh
I
well.
thought you meant like the movie.
No, just on my webpage, the webpage that is the Hangout. Anyway, Flash versus Arrow. I thought it
Yes.
was awesome. So good.
Part one, I was a little iffy about. Part two, I was definitely sold.
Yeah, part two was really good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really enjoyed part one, but it wasn't like amazing. It was just part one was just there. It was okay. It was a good episode. It was sort of like a standard Flash episode. It wasn't really that much better or worse than the other Flash episodes of the season.
I'd say it was worse because, they were trying to cram so much stuff in there.
It was annoying. That's for sure. Very uh with Iris and Eddie and just but I'm kind of glad that they're putting a clamp on the superhero infatuation thing cuz that's just so overused. It's every superhero girlfriend is like in love with a superhero and doesn't is
Ignores the normal one, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I wanted the Iris thing to last only a couple of episodes so that it would be like, hey, we're nodding to the tradition and now we're moving on. So I'm glad that at least they're changing it. They're they're doing something different instead of just continuing. But the Arrow half was pretty great. Uh, to have it was just a good, well, first of all, it was just a good episode. Like um the flashbacks connected to Oliver's current character development, and I haven't really seen that much before. Before we've seen there be some overlap in plot somehow, but this was like really clearly this is why Oliver started torturing people was because he saw that when he didn't, innocent people died. And then connecting that to feeling like he's losing his humanity and Barry saying he still got it. And it's just, it's all, Oliver's character development is so stubbornly slow. Like he just refuses to improve. And so to see some forward progress is great. I like it.
Well, just anything to get Oliver to stop brooding all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think, think/hope that him realizing that he's in love with Felicity is actually starting to further his character development. And because Felicity doesn't take any of his crap. She's not going to just sit around and wait for him. She's moving on with her life. That's awesome. That's great. I love Felicity. Felicity is the best character on the show. But Diggle is also great. Like how Oliver was. I think this was actually the episode before the crossover, the one with Cupid. He said, "I just want her to be happy," and Diggle's like, "No, if you wanted that, you'd be with her." Like to just point out these things. Yeah,
But as we've seen, like, as soon as Oliver is with anybody, bad things happen.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
just
yeah, he's seen that, but he has to. No, actually, I don't think so. I don't think that it's because he's with like the date night with Felicity. So it got messed up one time. I just no. They can be
yeah.
together and they can be
Okay.
happy.
When you go on a first date with somebody and the restaurant you're in blows up, that's
Okay, I know
basically
that's not the ideal first
a
date,
signal.
but I'm just saying they still got a chance,
No,
and
they
it
don't.
wasn't. No, okay,
I'm
ex-
sorry, Olicity is not gonna happen.
no, no. How are you saying this? Why? Okay, expound. And while you expound, I will try to think of rational Olicity thoughts instead of just
Well, first of all, just like they're not compatible. Oliver is this dark, brooding superhero. Felicity is a geeky, former goth girl, basically, as we saw.
Okay.
He's too smart for Oliver.
That is true. Is that all you got?
I mean, it's like, well, as we saw, like, she'd be perfect with Barry, but unfortunately Barry and her have kind of admitted that they would be terrible together, or, well, that they can't be together because they're both in love with other people.
Yeah, that would be perfect. That is true.
I mean, it's basically gonna be Oliver and Sarah once Sarah learns how to be a superhero.
You mean Laurel?
Laurel, you're right. Sarah's dead. I get them mixed up.
But see, but that is so. Okay, well, I can see. No, actually, I can't. I think that's a terrible, terrible idea because they don't have any chemistry on the show. I don't like Laurel, and I don't really like Oliver. Like, if they get together and they were like the focal point of the show, it would just not. I mean, I watch the show for the supporting cast. I watch it for Felicity and Thea and Roy and Diggle, and the occasions on which Oliver is not an idiot, which is rare. I just don't. Him and Laurel is dead. It was this angsty thing in season 1 that sort of flopped around and died. They're just not.
Well, no, but that's just it. The old Laurel and the new Oliver couldn't get together. Because Oliver had changed because of his time on the island. We are now seeing a new Laurel who is being motivated by the death of her sister.
Yeah, but what is this new Laurel going to do for Oliver? And what is Oliver going to do for the new Laurel? Like, how are they going to complement each other as characters? New Laurel?
They're going to be the same. They're going to be the same. They're both these driven, dark individuals.
So they're both going to sit in the Arrow Cave and die. They're going to die down in the Arrow Cave, killed by some bad guy, which is exactly what Oliver said he didn't want in the episode where Sarah died. And that's not what he wants for Laurel either.
Yeah, but Laurel's not going to do what he says anyway.
Yeah, but he's not going to just, like, accept that. And the thing is that they create a stagnant couple. Laurel and Oliver, if they get together, they're just going to continue in their destructive ways. And it's not even like we're going to go down together with our inability to cope with life, because they don't, because they've consistently not gone down together. Laurel has spiraled off by herself, and Oliver has, like, tried to help and then just got caught up in his own thing, and if they are together, it's just going to be...
But look at who Laurel is attracted to right now. Ted Grant, the former vigilante.
So
I'm like saying, like, she's basically attracted to Oliver, except a retired Oliver.
Just because she's attracted to him doesn't mean they would make a good couple.
Yeah, but, like, okay, again, but who was Oliver with before last person with? He was with Sarah.
Yeah, and it didn't work. The point is that they're
because she had to go off and be with the League of Assassins. That's why it didn't work.
Yeah, but she like white fanged him. She was like, I'm all dark, and you have some light in you still, and you need someone who's going to bring out that light. And that's the character development, or that's what we saw again in this crossover episode, that Barry was like, dude, you still have some humanity in you. You've been holding on to that, and that's making you a better person. And the theme of this season so far has been about Oliver and his identity, and can I be Oliver Queen and the Arrow, or am I only the Arrow? Have I lost Oliver Queen? And being with another vigilante will not bring back Oliver Queen. That will make him completely the Arrow. So whether it was Sarah or if it's going to be Laurel after she learns how to be a vigilante, that is basically saying I am no longer Oliver Queen. I am the Arrow, and that's, I mean, if that's the direction the show goes, that's the direction the show goes, but that's not the direction that the show is telling us it is going to go. Because we want Oliver to realize that he still is Oliver Queen, that he still got some of that person, and that he hasn't traded away all of his soul with all of these things. And the people who bring that out of him are Felicity and Diggle and Roy and Thea, like the people around him who are not vigilantes. Well, okay, Felicity and Diggle kind of are because they work with him, and Roy is, but that's like, they're like family.
You realize you just completely negated your point. Like, but when he's not surrounded by vigilantes, oh wait, except Roy is a vigilante, Felicity is a vigilante,
Okay.
Dill's a vigilante.
But see, but they're different because, well, no, I'm not going to count Roy in this because Roy's got a different part. Roy is sort of looking to Oliver as a mentor. That's a different scenario. But let's just take Felicity and Diggle. Felicity and Diggle are not dark and driven by vengeance and pain and angst and anguish. They are doing it out of a sense of justice, a sense of being able to do something to help the city, and out of loyalty to Oliver. And that's what's progressing him as a character. The only other characters in this show who are progressing Oliver's character development are Diggle and Felicity. Because they're the ones who stand up to him and tell him that he's being an idiot, and tell him what's going on, and tell him when he's not, when he's being destructive, and they provide options for him. Like how Diggle invited him to dinner, and after, in the Cupid episode, after he saw Felicity and Ray kiss, instead of going off and brooding or punching something or going on an angry vigilante kick, he went over to Diggle's house for dinner. Diggle and Felicity are the ones who give Oliver the opportunity to be Oliver Queen and not just the Arrow. Sarah, as the Black Canary, didn't really offer that because she was so tied up in, like, who he was before, and she's tied up in the vigilante world. Her individually, not through him. Like, her separately is in the vigilante world. And Laurel will be the same way. She will be not a vigilante because she's helping him, but separately on her own in the vigilante world. And she's dark and angry and destructive. And she will be, for Oliver, she is someone who will make him the Arrow and not Oliver Queen.
But the Arrow kind of is a better Oliver Queen.
Well, the Arrow has...
Like, Oliver Queen is not a good person.
You're talking about frat boy Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not who Oliver Queen is or has to be.
But it is who, well, I mean,
No, it's who
Oliver Queen was before he went through all of this, stuff that turned him into the Arrow.
So what you're saying is he has lost Oliver Queen. That Oliver Queen there's frat boy and there's the Arrow, and that his humanity is tied up completely in the frat boy. That's what you're saying. Because what Barry was trying to convince him is that his humanity carries through, and that he can have learned something and grown as a person and still be Oliver Queen and not just a vigilante. Because the Arrow, when we're talking about in terms of identity, is more functional, like utilitarian. He is the vigilante. He does this, he does that, he does that. And the humanity is the problem, or the lack thereof. His sense of identity.
Yeah. Well, but the caring about people, that was not part of the original Oliver Queen.
No, but it could be part of the new Oliver Queen.
Okay, but the new Oliver Queen is more the Arrow than he is Oliver Queen.
Okay, no, we're not talking about the same thing. When I say the new Oliver Queen, I mean, like, the humanity, like, the... If he stopped being the Arrow, like, if he stopped being a vigilante, what would he do? Who would he be? What would he be like? How would he interact with people? What would he put his resources toward? That person is the new Oliver Queen. If that person doesn't exist, that's when we start having to question, does the new Oliver Queen coexist with the Arrow, or is he entirely the Arrow right now?
I think he is entirely the Arrow.
I
Let,
mean,
let, let me use a different example. Okay, we have Clark Kent and we have Superman.
okay.
Superman is this, like, alien god, perfect, does everything right. Clark Kent is the flawed thing. But Superman needs to be Clark Kent because that's what keeps him grounded in humanity.
Uh-huh.
The thing is, Oliver Queen doesn't really have much going on. It doesn't have much other than being the Arrow. The old Oliver died pretty much, and the new Oliver never really created an Oliver for himself. He kind of just became the Arrow, and just pretended to be Oliver Queen.
Yes. Okay. I'll give you that.
He's more like Batman, who pretends to be Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne has all of these, resources, but he doesn't actually want to be Bruce Wayne. He really is Batman. Bruce Wayne is the mask, and that's what I'm saying. Oliver Queen is basically the mask. The Arrow is the real dude.
Okay. I see what you're saying now. And I don't think you're wrong, but I think that that's bad. I think that it's bad that the Arrow is all there is. And for him to... I guess it depends on, are we going to go with a negative character arc? No, not a negative one. And we're going to go with a tragic character arc or a redemptive character arc. Well, no, even that is not right. Tragic, what's the opposite of tragic? Not tragic?
The opposite of tragic is comedic.
Yeah, but comedic has too many connotations. Okay, I'll just do tragic and not tragic. If we wanted to have a tragic character arc or a not tragic character arc, because it would be a tragic arc for Oliver, after all of this crisis that he has with identity, to decide that he no longer exists outside of his vigilante persona. Now, if he resolves a lot of those problems and decides that being the Arrow is good enough, so to speak, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad.
But my argument is that the whole caring for people, that's a part of the Arrow. That's not a part of Oliver Queen. Oliver
No,
Queen.
but when you say that's not a part of Oliver Queen, again, you're referring to who Oliver used to be and not who he could become.
Well, yeah, because there is no... I'm saying because there is no new Oliver.
Okay, but I think there is a new Oliver. That's what Barry was referring to when he said that he held on to his humanity throughout this. That means there is a new Oliver. It means that Oliver didn't just lose himself, but he grew and evolved. Because what you're saying, for there to be no new Oliver, and he is only the Arrow, that means that he completely lost himself in the past 5 years, or in the 5 years he was away. And to talk about, look, you still have something in you. You still have light, with the way Sarah put it, or humanity, the way Barry put it. To say you still got some of that, you held on to that, would be saying that instead of losing himself completely during those 5 years, he held on to a piece of who he was, but that doesn't mean that he just took this stagnant snapshot of frat boy Oliver and transposed it into the future. Because that's not what you do when you go through stuff. You grow and you change. And so to say
I know, I'm admitting he grew and he changed, but the person he grew into and changed was not a new Oliver. It was the Arrow. The Arrow is the new Oliver, essentially. I'm not
So what
saying
is
that
having
the
a crisis
Arrow
over?
has no humanity. I'm saying Arrow is the new Oliver.
Okay, so okay. What do you think he's having a crisis over?
I don't think he's having a crisis.
Okay, what's his deal then?
The deal is that he's just broody and angsty. The deal is he needs a new Oliver. That's the problem.
Okay, explain that to me a little bit more.
He doesn't have a second identity. He is like, to use the Batman model. He is Batman. He is the Arrow. And he puts on the mask of Bruce Wayne when it is convenient for him. But he does it. But Bruce Wayne is not a real person. Bruce,
Wait,
he doesn't have an identity as Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen does not have like friends and relationships. All of that belongs to the Arrow.
is the Arrow a complete person?
Yeah. Well, no, the Arrow is not a complete person because, as we saw, the Arrow has been through some crazy shit. But to say
Uh,
that
that doesn't make someone an incomplete person, though.
well, the Arrow is on a constant search for justice. That's sort of like that's kind of what the Arrow can't be a complete person because then he would stop his crusade. It is that constant seeking of justice, that missing piece that kind of keeps the character driven.
Um, does the Arrow have an intact sense of identity?
No, because because he thinks of himself as Oliver Queen and the Arrow.
So how does he get an intact sense of identity?
He needs to pick one, or he needs to abandon the Arrow life long enough to be Oliver Queen, to actually do things as Oliver Queen.
Okay, so he can't be both. Or he can't have both.
He can have both, but he has done nothing to create a new Oliver. The old Oliver went through all the stuff on the island, and the Arrow came out, but a new Oliver did not come out.
Okay, I think I see what you're saying. But I think that he should create a new Oliver.
He should. No, yeah, he should. He should literally give up being the Arrow for like a month and
Yeah,
just find out who Oliver Queen is.
yeah. And I think that would best be done with people like Felicity and Diggle. Like actually healthy people.
But you see, they're part of the problem. They're part of the Arrow. He needs to
They are
find
part of
people.
his operation as the
Yeah,
Arrow, but they are not part of the the
he needs
problem
to
that
be
makes
with
the Arrow.
people who have no connection to his vigilante life.
So not Laurel.
Not Laurel, not anybody. In order to be a new Oliver, he needs to have a life outside of being the Arrow, where
Hmm.
he interacts with people who have nothing to do with his vigilante life.
Hmm. Well, that certainly is not going to happen in the show, regardless of if that's a good idea. Um, hmm.
I mean, he needs to get a job. He needs to have hobbies. That's what
No, I agree with you
Oliver
on that. That's for sure.
Oliver needs to develop a fully functioning person
And in
in
season
order.
3, we've hardly seen anything of him outside of his Arrow stuff. Like, he lives in the Foundry.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's getting worse.
Yes. And like
Okay,
the only
well,
people he interacts with are Felicity, Diggle, and Roy.
yes, but we've only seen him interacting with them on a vigilante level. Like, how do we know that if he ever wants to reconcile the two, they have to overlap. He has to figure out who Oliver Queen is as the Arrow, because that's what he thinks he can't do. He thinks he can't be both. So your proposal that he do something completely different, like get away from the vigilante life in order to figure out who Oliver Queen is, would be a separate, like having a dichotomy of the two, that you can be one or the other, but not really both, living two dual lives. They're living a dual life, two separate lives.
I mean, right now, Oliver Queen does not live dual lives. He's the Arrow.
Yeah, he's the Arrow. Well, but what I'm saying is, I don't think he has to live a dual life. I think that he may have to have a lot of secrets, and lie from time to time. Like, I mean, I think Thea should know that he's the Arrow, but, let's say, just, he doesn't tell people that he's the Arrow. He keeps his identity a secret. But he hangs out with Felicity. He hangs out with Diggle. Doing things like going over to Diggle's house for dinner. That kind of stuff is not Arrow stuff.
That's a step in the right direction, but at the same time, it's not a big enough step.
I think that if he takes these little steps in the right direction, though, that's what's going to enable him to, synthesize the two.
I mean, it'll be when he goes to dinner at someone's house who has no connection to the Arrow, basically. When it's someone who only knows Oliver Queen as Oliver Queen.
Yeah, but does it have to be... Ah!
Hmm? I lost her. I blew her brain. I'm mind blown. I win. Elizabeth? Yay. Let me give you some examples of what I'm sort of talking about. I guess Spider-Man is a good thing. Is a good example because Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Peter has a life outside of being Spider-Man. He has his Aunt May, who has no connection to Spider-Man. He has, friends. He has a job, even though his job kind of he's done several jobs in the comics, and I'd rather use this example of when he was a teacher, or in the comics currently he owns a science lab where he invents stuff. But he has coworkers who have no idea he's Spider-Man, and he interacts with them. And that's kind of what I've been trying to get at. There is a Peter Parker. There is an identity. There is a person who is Peter Parker, and people know him as Peter Parker, and he has a life as Peter Parker. In the case of a character like Oliver Queen on the show, there is no Oliver Queen. Oliver does not have friends he goes and hangs out with. He doesn't have, his buddies that he spends time with. He doesn't have hobbies.
I'm back! My computer died.
Okay. I was kind of giving an example of sort of what I've been trying to say the whole time, and I was using Spider-Man as an example in that
Okay.
Peter Parker has a clear identity.
Yeah.
He is, he has friends. He's held down different jobs. He has family he spends time with. He does things as Peter Parker.
He's also a completely solo superhero.
Hmm.
I think that Oliver needs a job. I definitely think he needs a day job. Um,
He does need a day job.
I think he needs hobbies. I think he needs more friends.
Yes.
But I think he can keep
But
Felicity
he
and
needs
Diggle.
Oliver Queen friends. Not people who know he's also a vigilante. He needs people that he can be like, sorry, I have to go and do something right now. And he needs people like that.
Yeah, I think he does.
Like, Barry Allen has people he does that with.
Yes, he does. That's good. Uh,
Like, there's a clear Barry Allen persona that is separate from the Flash.
there is. I think if Oliver and Felicity just got together and then he used some of
He's not
Felicity.
going to give this up.
No, I am
It's
not
gonna
going
happen.
to give this up. Okay,
First of all,
well,
Felicity
let
has
me.
obviously got the hots for Ray Palmer, who is
Yes,
more in her league.
let me just sort of qualify my shipping statements right now. I really like that Felicity is into Ray right now, and that Ray is treating her like a queen because I think that's really great for her character. And honestly, Felicity deserves better than Oliver because Oliver is a jerk and he is possessive and he's not treated her as well as she deserves. And I just there's a lot of problems with them being together. There are,
Mhm.
um, but I just lost it. I lost last part of my thought. It's gone. It's out the window.
That's because they're not supposed to be together.
No lies,
That is
lies.
why. That is why you lost that train of thought, because your own brain knows that they're not supposed to be together.
No. It's not because they're not supposed to ever be together. I think that it's good for them not to be together right now. I think that it's good for Felicity to be with Ray, potentially, because Oliver needs to get his crap together. He needs to figure out what he's doing. And so, even though I did just like 5 seconds ago say that Oliver and Felicity should be together, I don't actually think that's a good strategy for Oliver to get better. Like, he needs to do what we've been saying to sort of build up the Oliver Queen part of himself, to fill out the part of his identity that is atrophied and starving. And once he's done that and realized that he can have that, that he can sustain that, then he will be better for Felicity. Also, he could use like 20 years of therapy.
He doesn't really need that much therapy.
Well, okay, that's a relative statement as to
I
saying
mean, he's not as damaged as I think.
he just needs
He just needs to develop the Oliver Queen part of his personality.
I think that would help him immensely.
I mean, he
That
only needs
has some of the
therapy
stuff.
because he doesn't exist very much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he needs to work through some of his issues.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to have a therapist to do that. He can
Well,
do it
like,
with
I mean,
friends.
at the end of season 1, where did he go because he felt he had issues? He didn't go on some vacation like a normal person. He went back to the island he'd been stranded on for 5 years.
Yeah.
He went back to the torture. I mean, that's basically just like I can't even think. That's basically like I went back. It's basically just reliving the most tragic part of your life over and over again.
Basically.
I mean, it's a nice island, but at the same time,
Yeah. No, definitely problematic. Definitely problematic.
so yeah, I mean, he needs to develop a personality.
I agree.
He needs to go on a cruise. He needs to go on like a ski vacation. Oliver Queen needs to have some fun.
He does need to have some fun.
So he can just learn what it's like to be Oliver Queen.
I think it would be okay for him to have fun with, like, Diggle or Felicity.
No, he can't
Roy
do
or
it.
Thea,
With
especially Thea. No, but because they're not doing vigilante stuff.
no, but that's it, though. It's someone from his vigilante life. He needs to go. He needs to do something where the words arrow never come up. The word vigilante never comes up.
I don't think that he does. I think that he needs friends who don't know, and he needs to have people in his life who are separate. But I don't think that that just ditching, like, leaving everything behind and going off and meeting new strangers is what he needs to start developing his personality. I think that he should probably start with going on a ski vacation with one of his already existing friends. Someone he can be honest
But
with.
they're not his
work out
friends.
who he is. He
They're
has to
the
be
hero's friends. They're not Oliver Queen's friends.
I think that Oliver Queen exists in some small capacity. Okay, I don't think we're starting from zero. We're starting with a little
Oliver
something.
Queen is a name on a driver's license.
No, he exists in some. There's a little bit of him. There's a sliver. There is a piece of him that is there. There is a core of.
There is a dying, atrophied little sliver. There is a little dead Voldemort fetus in a train station of Oliver Queen.
I think it's a little bit bigger than that. There is a slice. There is a thin slice of Oliver Queen. And I think that in order to develop that, to figure out what's going on, he needs someone that he can be completely honest with, that he can talk about his conflict of feeling like, I don't know how to handle myself when I'm out here and not being the vigilante, and he needs someone to be able to tell him, like, stop, you're not the vigilante right now, just go have some hot chocolate. But he also needs other people. So let's say that they go on a cruise and they meet other people, but he's got his one person. He can, like, process stuff. See, I think that he needs to work through stuff and process things.
I do think he needs to work stuff out and process things, but I think he needs to do that without any connection to his...
So you think that he can do it inside his own head, by himself?
I think it's basically like teaching a small child how to swim. You just gotta throw them in the water eventually.
That is not how you teach a small child how to swim. And I think that he needs external help because he's been inside his own head for so long, and it hasn't gotten him anywhere. He's stuck on a loop within himself. He needs someone from the outside to get him off the loop and to get him going, like, in a direction. And his friends, Diggle and Felicity, etc., have done that. He was in this loop, and then his friends came in and his loop got bumped, and now he's in this loop, and then it got bumped, and it's going like this, and they just need to keep doing it until he gets off of a loop and is going in a direction.
But the problem, though, is that Diggle and Felicity are normal people.
Yeah.
They can't help them. They can't really help him.
So he needs a therapist.
He needs a therapist, and he needs to do things that are not related to being a superhero.
I think that he could separate. Okay, well, I'm not convinced.
I mean, he needs to not even wear green. That's how far he needs to go. He needs to wear, like, blue all for like a whole week. Because that's how far, like, entrenched in the Arrow persona he is.
I don't know if I agree with you on the drasticness of this requirement.
I'm just saying he needs to do something that is so completely separate from the vigilante lifestyle, and he needs to do it without Diggle, without Felicity, without Roy, without any connection to it. He needs to just be Oliver Queen. It could be as simple as he stays in a week and watches Netflix. But he does something. No superhero watching, of course. But, like, he watches romantic comedies. but he does something as Oliver Queen for like a week.
So just a short little diversion,
Yeah,
and
he
then he can come
develops.
back.
Yeah, I mean, he develops like tastes. He develops like
So he
interests.
needs excursions. So we're not talking like, yeah, okay, okay, no, yeah. So if he has little like excursions into the outside world, like he just goes out and does something, and he comes back just to
Yeah,
start like beefing up that side of him. Okay, I can see that. I
but
wasn't
he has to do
picturing him just
things
leaving.
that are not related. He should actually just get out of Starling City because that's so much of being
Okay,
like,
okay. I think maybe either I see where you're coming from more, or I'm taking what you're saying and I'm interpreting it to fit a model that I like. Um, okay, so he can have like these excursions that help him start beefing up this atrophied part of himself,
yeah.
but then he can come back to his
But
friends and
he
found
goes bird watching besides, oh, I really like this, or no, I don't like this.
Okay. See, I was more envisioning that he was gonna go on like this big long quest to find himself by himself.
No, because that's exactly like kind of what he did as the Arrow. He went on like this long quest that forced him into this weapon.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
he needs to do
I
things
think
that have nothing to do with being a vigilante. He needs to do like regular people shit.
I think I understand what you're saying now. Yeah.
Because like Oliver Queen doesn't have any interests. He doesn't
He
have
needs to
anything.
work on separating himself from the arrow, and he can do that in small bites.
I mean, I don't think you could even ask Oliver Queen a question like, "What do you like?" and have him answer. Like, he wouldn't be able to like, "Oh, well, I like reading. I like going to movies." He would just be like, "Well, I like shooting people with arrows, but I can't really say that because
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm liking this small steps model
yeah,
where he goes out and does something. I was thinking more like what will his life look like if he's embracing this thing. I was thinking like long-term trajectory or like longer things. Okay, okay, I can get on board with this.
no, it's about him developing Oliver Queen as a person.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the new Oliver does not exist. The old Oliver was basically killed on the island, and the Arrow was born, and like Oliver Queen just became kind of a name.
Okay. Yeah. So he just needs to start filling it up.
Yeah, and he needs to basically just be like, hey, I really like these things, or I really don't like these things, or this is my friend Bob. He and Oliver, you know, have
Okay.
play fantasy football together. I don't know, like,
I can see that.
but he just things that don't involve criminals, vigilantes, or metahumans,
Okay.
and stuff that he doesn't always do with Felicity Diggle or Roy.
Yes, because he needs other things. So this is how he gets other things. Is he occasionally goes out, like he takes his weekends and he does something completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
It was just kind of funny, like at the end of part one of the Flash vs. Arrow, like there they are at a coffee shop. It's Cisco and Caitlin and Felicity, Oliver and Barry, and it's like, really? They don't know anybody else? They're all just hanging around getting coffee.
Yeah, I don't think Oliver knows anybody else.
He doesn't, except that one girl he slept with many years ago.
Oh yeah, I forgot she came back. I'm
Yeah.
really nervous about that.
I am not because I was so waiting for her to say her name was Hawk and her son's name is Connor, and I'm like, yes. Because in the
Okay.
comics, well, in the pre-New 52, like Green Arrow did have a son named Connor Hawk who actually became Green Arrow when Oliver died.
Okay, that could be interesting. Something could go here.
Yeah, except now that doesn't exist anymore. Thank you, DC.
Okay.
A little bit of New 52 hate. If Debbie were here, she'd understand because she has said she will never read anything of the New 52.
I don't really know much about the New 52. So,
It's basically just like a few years back, DC canceled all of its comic titles and relaunched them. Brand new number ones across the board with
that seems
50
dumb.
titles. And it's basically just it's called the New 52 just for for continuity's sake.
Nah. That
Yeah.
seems like a bad idea.
It was a bad idea, especially because it was basically saying "f you" to everyone who had been collecting comics since 1986, the last time they did a major
Come on,
history.
DC.
Yeah. And they're probably going to do it again, actually. I heard the rumor that there's going to be another big history reboot in like the next year or two.
Why?
Because idiots like me will go to the comic book stores and buy all the brand new number ones and spend lots and lots of money.
Why won't they just continue with the existing and people will spend money on the number 400? Oh well.
Because that's how things work.
Okay.
Because unlike Oliver Queen, DC has never figured out who it is.
DC needs to go do something unrelated to
Yes,
comics
exactly.
in short, controlled spurts and not as a drastic lifestyle change.
Yes. Yep. I just realized we talked to this entire discussion just about Green Arrow. We haven't even touched the Flash.
This is true. This is
But
true.
mainly
We
just because
still
the
have
Flash is a
like,
pretty well balanced character, and there's not much we can say. Like,
yeah, he's really he's so much more. He's like a warm, fluffy puppy who cares about people and wants to help.
pretty much, yeah. And also,
Yeah.
I mean, Barry Allen is pretty well rounded. He's not like damaged.
Because he knows who he is, and the Flash, his Flash persona is not in conflict with his Barry Allen persona. Because that's another thing with Oliver is that the Arrow was in conflict with Frat Boy Oliver, and the Arrow, the old Arrow, the Hood, was in conflict with this sort of new Arrow that he's trying to be, and likely there's going to be some, at least at the start, there's going to be conflict between the Arrow and the new Oliver. Hopefully, he can start to bring them together. But the point is that there's conflict now. Whereas Barry is just, I mean, he's a forensic scientist because he's smart and he's good at it, and he's a superhero because he wants to help people, and there's not really a ton of conflict there.
Yeah. The Flash is basically just doing what Barry wanted to do anyway.
Right.
He wants to help people, and the powers he has give him the ability to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's The less angst, the less. Well, I feel like all of our arguing ended up just me realizing that what you were saying better. But yeah, I don't know. Let's switch to discussion. I enjoy the Arrow so much though because it's so much happier than. Sorry, it's the Flash. I enjoy the Flash so much because it's so much lighter than the Arrow. It's just like it makes it. It's a feel good show.
Well,
In a
yeah,
lot of ways.
it's like they give their villains cute nicknames. They give them like they have fun with it.
And that's why um, Team Arrow and Team Flash are so good for each other. Because in the Arrow crossover, basically the Team Flash was like, "Wow, this is really serious. Like your world is pretty brutal." And Team Arrow is kind of like, "Okay, we can lighten up a little bit." Like they're good. They can learn from each other in really good ways. That's what I think.
Plus, Caitlin and Cisco are a little bit more fun than Felicity and Diggle.
They are pretty fun. And I love whenever Felicity is with them. Like, Felicity, Cisco, Caitlin, and Barry are, like, my favorite combinations.
Well, yeah, because Felicity's the smart person, and they're smart.
So well.
She fits in. It's
Yeah.
kind of she doesn't belong on the Arrow team because she's the brains basically.
She what?
She almost doesn't belong on the Arrow team because
Oh.
she's the brains of the team.
Yeah, they need her. So.
So pretty much this was a very good crossover, and I look forward to future such crossovers.
It was a good crossover. I'm so happy with it.
Future crossovers where they bring in all the many heroes that they have been sprinkling throughout both series.
Yes.
Because we got the Atom in Ray Palmer.
Yeah.
We've got Firestorm on the Flash. There was actually a great little spoiler thing, or Easter egg, I guess is a better word for it. Easter egg thing when the Dr. Keller on the Flash was listing all the names of people who died.
Oh yeah.
And those are all the names of characters in DC Comics.
Nice.
Those are all the names of superheroes.
And we know that Ronnie?
Yes.
We know that he's not actually dead, so
That's Firestorm.
yeah.
That's yeah. Though I was surprised to see him with the flaming because there's supposed to be another guy or maybe they already are merged. I don't know. We'll see when that episode airs.
I don't know. I need to. I don't think I saw the promo for the next episode. So.
The next episode is going to be Reverse Flash. It's going to be the.
Yeah. That's
it's
right.
just called The Man in the Yellow Suit.
There we go. I'll watch the trailer after this is done.
Yeah. It's basically just Barry looking very pissed off because here's the guy who killed his mom.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, next episode, we will, I think, maybe do an end of the year special where we just talk about what we liked that came out, movies, TV shows, stuff like that.
Cool.
And then we'll take off for a couple of weeks.
Christmas! New Year's!
Yep.
I'm excited.
So that has been Crossover Appeal number 101.
Awesome.
We should have done something educational.
Crossover Appeal 101.
Yep.
This is how we do it.
Yep. Next week.
All right. See ya.